Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Glow. We're the fucking Morning Throners.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of your Morning Throners podcast. You know, we're all here for the fans, so if you can, give us a like and a follow on Spotify, or if you want to watch us on YouTube, we should be uploading there as well. Coming pretty much to all platforms here momentarily, so just giving you guys all the content in the world. But we're about to finish up the second half of Mystery Night, which made me feel kind of like the smartest man alive. Nels, you want to take it away?
You did do good, Jeff.
Okay, I just want to point out one thing. The one thing Jeff did get wrong is Jeff said he's going to win his tournament. Or win the
Yeah,
joust.
that's the one
Win a
thing he
joust.
said wrong. That's not the main
I also said,
storyline.
though, that I did not even care about the joust. So if you won it, if you lost it, it didn't even... I guess it did kind of play a decent role in the effect of the story because
That's
he
when you
ends
kind
up
of start
going
learning
to see the
that
snail
everything's
and
going
whatnot.
shit.
But for the most part, I mean, I don't want to hit on the biggest of spoilers, but the
So
big
before we
stuff, I was pretty good at in my...
Yeah, you're close.
For the first, I'm batting 333, which makes me a Hall of Famer in this prediction podcast.
Oh, before we get started, let's just say, you don't have to, without getting too far into it, what's your favorite, both of you guys, what's your favorite book of the three short stories? Now that we've read them all, if you have not listened to all the Mystery Night, I would back out now or you're definitely going to get stuff spoiled for you. But what do you guys think? Favorite book? I've always said Hedge Knight, but the more I reread this, this last one's got so many moving pieces, and that's the reason I love a Song of Ice and Fire series, is because there's so much shit that you're like, oh, is this guy? Who's this? What's going on here? What's going on here? And the other two books don't really have much of that. They're kind of straightforward. This one's got a lot of moving pieces like that. So I don't know. This one's growing on me more and more. It's always been, I thought, my second favorite, but I don't know. It's right up there with
As
Hedge
Jeff
Knight.
used to say, or always says, the devil's in the details. And there's a lot of details in this that he hides throughout the whole book that ties everything together.
So you think this one?
Yeah, after discussing it again and reading through it again, it's definitely the best one because of how intricate it is.
And I think I'm going to point out some stuff to you guys that you guys didn't even catch on your first read through when we go through this, and I think it'll make it even better for you guys as we go through this episode.
I would agree with you guys that this was the best one because this was a story. The first two were short stories. You know what I mean? This had a lot of shit packed in it. There's one
They're all exactly the same length, so not lengthwise.
But
but
just
there's more
information
shit.
and this was the most Game of Thronesy, and by backstabbing plots and whisperings going on, and you never really know who's who and who's controlling what, and then bam, Game of Thrones. What I need though, it's so tough first time through unless you're going super slow to pick up on all these names, and then you get the pictures, and the pictures kind of help, but just imagine if in the glossary in the back, where I don't think it does in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but in Game of Thrones and Clash, they got all the families, the appendix. Imagine if there was a little bit of a picture there.
The thing is, in these, I get what you're saying, because the first couple times I read these, I definitely didn't take the time and take as much notes as I did. I've been taking notes on these for this podcast, so we're not missing anything, and that really helps. Even me, who's read these probably 4 times, it really helps tie. Okay, Black Tom Heddle did this, and Sir Uther is the guy that he sat with in the beginning, and it just kind of makes everything click a little better.
Yeah,
I'm taking notes during the Thrones podcast, and I see exactly what you're saying, Nelson. It's helping me pick little details out and see
exactly.
So I have shit written down to see what's coming and compare and
exactly. Or a name that when I read through A Song of Ice and Fire the first time, that I was like, oh wait, I remember this guy being pretty important in book 3. But when you're reading Game of Thrones the first time, he's just a knight in the room. So you just kind of be okay, well, there's 20 knights here. I don't care about any of them. But after having read through it and knowing a lot about the series, you can be wait a minute, this guy was here? And then he shows up later over here? That's so weird. What was he doing in both places? And it just kind of sparks all this stuff.
I'm just tired of getting confused midway through the story of who's Cockshaw, who's Plum, who's the fiddler, what they say early on. I read that a week ago, I forget, what were they saying? Were they Hedge Knight? Are they Lord? the names, and I love it. That's what makes it great, is because there's so many elements. But
It's not gimmies. He's not just like feeding it to you. You got to
Yeah,
pay
no,
attention.
you-
You got to read between the lines.
but
All right, well, let's jump into it. We left off last time. Dunk is like in the list, ready to charge at Sir Uther.
Yeah.
That is a very short joust. It's
Here's
like a
the- here's the thing.
two sentence joust. Dunk's a horrible knight. Is that the thing?
He is a bad-
kind
he's-
of. And
he's a bad knight.
the whole realm is just very stupid. Okay, let's just think about the science behind jousting. Okay.
Mhm.
And first, let's go with the opinion. Every time someone sees Dunk, they're like, "Oh my God, you're such a big man. Like, you're so strong. I bet. Like, no one will be able to defeat you." Now, let's talk about how jousting works. Okay, you're on a horse, going pretty fast. Okay, and you've got
Okay.
a 12-foot long pole, and you've got to hit a target.
Okay.
Being
Okay.
short and stocky helps out.
Exactly. So if you ever watch the movie The Patriot, the dad, right before they start murdering all those guys and he becomes the ghost, he tells his son to aim small, miss small. All right? If you can aim small on that big-ass target that Dunk is, you miss and you still hit him. You aim for
Okay.
the center of his chest and you hit his shoulder, you hit his head. He's so big.
I'm gonna argue against this because you're right. It makes your target for the opponent way bigger, but the only thing that matters in a joust is really like momentum. Glow, you're my physics guy. What's the formula for momentum?
Acceleration
energy,
times-
yeah,
think it's
I
mass
forget
time-
momentum.
I think it's mass,
Mass-
times acceleration.
Mass times scale. All right, but
Both horses are
that's
going
not
about the same
momentum.
speed.
momentum
no,
is
no bullshit. Because he says some horses are faster, and Thunder is already old. He's carrying heavier load. Okay?
Exactly, more momentum.
And he's only got about 40 yards to run.
Mass times
You
acceleration.
just said they were
the
going
more
fast.
mass.
Well, I mean, as fast as they can get up to.
Mass times velocity. That's the energy coming at him.
Sure. Oh, okay, I'm sure. But if
Oh,
Dunk,
force equals mass times acceleration. Not
okay,
momentum.
Yes.
Glow is
Whatever.
right. But whatever, same
okay.
thing.
So
Force, momentum, same
so
thing.
a littler guy going faster on a horse because he's more little.
Yeah.
Smaller.
Is going to have the same acceleration, or not the same force as a big guy going slower.
I agree with Jeff on this, and also with the whole. He's higher up too, so that means he can if he gets hit on the end, he's got more momentum to fly back.
Yeah. His center of gravity's higher.
Yeah, exactly.
You hit him up top, he's
All right,
got to
what about
go backwards.
what about equal and opposite forces? When you hit Dunk, it's like shooting a gun. You're getting kickback.
He's got to hit you though, and now we get into the point where Dunk's not very good.
Me and you joust. I could go in without a lance and still win.
No shot.
When you hit in my shield, I would just like push back and it would knock you off your horse. That's how that would happen.
Okay.
Dude.
Not even the mountain could do that.
I don't
dude.
know. I think being big helps in a joust. You're right. Jordan
No,
Stocky
no
helps,
way.
but I think
No
being big
way.
helps too.
Dude, have you ever watched movies of jousters? Have you ever seen like A Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
Great movie.
It's not like you're stabbing people.
A Knight's
with the
Tale is
lance.
not a serious movie.
You're literally riding.
It's a great movie though.
It's a lot of jousting though, and you see them. It's not like they're stabbing you with the joust or with the lance. You're just holding it there, and you've got to hold it steady. It's all like you said with the force coming with the horse.
Yeah, but
So
even
as
when
long
they
as
land, they're
No.
like shaking in the
as
saddle.
long as I can hold it there and hit you, it's gonna affect you.
but when that happens, I'm saying it affects you too.
Sure.
Equal and opposite.
Sure.
So you're screwed 'cause I'm just so big. I just stand
No.
my ground like Rocky.
No. You'd be the first one to fall off your horse.
Yes,
'Cause
I
you're
would.
Clumsy, just like Dunk.
I
Dunk the
would.
Lunk and Nelson the. I don't know. Zach the Hack. We'll call you your real fucking name.
Hey, don't use my real name. Keep it to my alias. So yeah, Dunk gets knocked out. He doesn't even remember. He just remembers they're charging at each other. Wakes up, finds out he got hit right in the dome piece, square between the eyes.
Got
And here's
fucked
the
up.
other thing. That should be illegal. They shouldn't win. You shouldn't win by that.
Well, like,
Like
in a hedge knight, when Arian hits Sir Humphrey's horse and kills it, he loses anyway. They like give all Arian shit to Sir Humphrey and claim him the winner. But he
Right.
broke his leg, so he couldn't play anymore, or joust
Play.
anymore. Whatever.
Yeah, but the head should be. I mean,
Yeah, but
maybe
they
like in
gave
the future,
Uthor the
in-
pass,
when there's
or-
CTE and things like that. You shouldn't
they,
be
they
able.
weren't worried about CTE back in the day.
You shouldn't be able to win by hitting a guy in the head. It should be it should be all chest, shield, knockoff. If you knock someone off by hitting him in the head, everyone should aim for the head then. Why would you not aim for the head?
Because it's a smaller target. That's what Uther even says.
Not Dunk's big ass fucking head.
I mean, you know what I mean.
Right, but that's my point. It should be illegal. I don't think Dunk should lose because he got hit in the fucking forehead.
He's a bitch, dude. He should have shielded
disagree.
there.
Yeah, I disagree. So when he wakes up, he's like, "Where's Egg?" Egg went to give Uthor thunder and all his armor and stuff. So Dunk goes back to the tourney, and as he's going to meet Sir Uther, he sees that Glendon Ball has just won a tilt, like they're leaving, and the Fiddler is about to joust some Frey guy, and Dunk like wasn't looking because his head hurt so bad, but like he looks up and sees that John the Fiddler won. So we know Glendon Ball and John the Fiddler are doing pretty good.
And Uthor won too.
And Uthor won his second tilt, yeah. And as he's going to see Egg and Sir Uthor, he passes some dwarves who are like the dwarves from the wedding last night who are packing up, and he like says hi to one of them, and they just give him like a bad look, and then he says that they smell like shit, so he like walks away from them.
Yeah.
This comes back in the very last line of the book. Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, that's why they smell like shit.
It's awesome.
It's crazy how they come back. Like, you never expect them.
The
But
dwarves to matter at all, even after this
It makes
line,
sense
yeah.
to why they smell like shit and everything like that.
Yeah. So we'll get there when we get to the end. But so Dunk, while he's going to look for Egg, he goes to a well to get some water because his head's just spinning because he's definitely got a concussion. He feels
He's
he's going to
just straight
throw up and
concussed.
everything. Yeah.
He's falling down. He's looking too fast. He's getting dizzy.
And when he meets up with Sir Maynard Plum and Sir Kyle the Cat, the guys he was sitting at the feast with, and the guys he like was at the Weirwood Grove with, and Kyle the Cat tells him what happened after he like lost the joust on purpose to try and get service with, I think it was Sir Joffrey something.
He was like, "You're a bitch. Get out of here." Yeah. I forget exactly what he said, but he basically said that.
Yeah, that's basically
so great that he's like, a knight that is as feeble as you can be in my ranks.
He's like, you would never, And he's like, I don't remember you making me a wooden sword when I was a kid. And then but Kyle also says that he wishes he would have lost to John the Fiddler because John the Fiddler refuses to take arms and armor from anybody. Yeah. So Maynard Plum tells him to take a lesson and to just dip. Grab his horse, grab everything before he takes it to Uther, and just get the hell out. Nobody will notice. He says Uthor is focused on his next match, and everybody else is too busy like watching the tournament to even notice.
Yeah.
And Dunk says a line from the old man, even a hedge knight has his honor. And then Plum tells him that his life is in danger, and so is Egg's. And Dunk's like, what do you mean? And Plum says, who do you think's going to win this tournament? And Dunk's like, oh, I don't know. And Plum's like, if you had to take a guess, who would you say?
The Fiddler.
And Sir Maynard's like, why do you think that? What's Dunk say?
You don't have a gut feeling?
Dunk's like, I just have a feeling. And Plum's like, yeah, so do I. He's like, I have a bad feeling for anybody who gets in his way.
Yeah.
Plum knows something.
Yeah, and I don't want to drop the bomb on what I think about Plum just yet.
Okay.
I mean, if you're watching this or listening to this episode, you can drop the spoiler.
The Plum is Plum is Bloodraven, which I 100% called.
A lot of people think that Plum's Bloodraven.
No, I'm going to confirm it now. You heard it here first. The moment he steps out of the shadows with one eye, it's him. So, I called that. Point Jeffrey. But if you're also...
I don't remember that part.
I said we had to see Bloodraven. I said Bloodraven's popping up.
Well, Bloodraven himself does pop up at the end.
Yeah, I didn't call that he was going to be Plum, but I called that he would be here. He had to be here. And he was doing some Bloodraven-y shit. He wasn't just walking up with the army.
He knows too much too early.
Magically, Plum is gone at the end. So
and it's not here. It's when Dunk gets in the fight with Cockshaw by the well, and Plum's the one who comes up afterwards. That's when you can only see like one eye. But yeah, at that point he knows way more than he should. He knows about the egg not being real. He knows everything.
And here's the other thing again.
Does he bring up knowing egg isn't real?
No, not egg. That the egg that they planted on Sir Glendon.
Oh, okay.
He knows that it was stolen before that happened.
Here's the other thing, too. If you're Dunk, you know that he's in pretty tight with the Fiddler right now. Like, the Fiddler likes him.
Yeah.
So, alright, like, yeah, my life's in danger. but not from the Fiddler. The Fiddler loves me. He's gonna make me a Kingsguardman. So why would I be afraid of the Fiddler right now? Like, he didn't give him much more than just to be afraid of the Fiddler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is what you say all the time when we talk about Bran. During the show, Bran, you have all this knowledge. You could know so much, and you tell nobody anything. You just leave everybody in the dark. Fill him in a little bit farther. Like, tell him that the people that want to get after him, who they are.
Well, if you tell him too much and it's like suspicious, are you actually Plum? Like, who are you?
Well, but you could always say like, "Oh, I heard him talking."
Yeah, I
There's
guess
ways
you can make
around
some
it.
bullshit up.
You fucking rode with him. You spent time with him. You ate with him.
But also, how does he know he can trust Dunk? Just
Well,
because he
it's
has
been what-
Egg?
Yeah.
I guess.
He's probably seen everything that you don't think he's been watching over Egg.
I mean, he doesn't seem to care very much, right? It seems like Bloodraven and Maekar don't get along too well, and they even talk about it at the end when Egg, like, Dunk thinks that Bloodraven's not going to let Egg go with him anymore. He's going to like send him back to Summerhall or keep him at King's Landing. He's like, I can't keep him at King's Landing. That would start a war between the Crown and Maekar, even though it's his brother, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a little up in the air. So after he talks to Kyle the Cat and Plum, he goes and finds Egg brushing out Thunder, getting ready to turn him over. And Dunk's like, okay, it's time to go give our stuff. And Egg's like freaking out, like, what are we going to do? Like, you can't be a knight. I can't be a squire if you're not a knight. How are we going to do this? He's like, you have to buy your stuff back. And Dunk's like, we don't have any coin. He's like, you can sell my horse, because his horse is like super expensive. It comes from, he got it at Cold Moat, which apparently is known for breeding like the best horses, right? We learned that at the end of the last book.
Yep.
So Rain is like a expensive horse. I think Dunk even says at the end of the last book it's worth more than everything he owns. So he could do that, but he refuses to sell Egg's horse, because then Egg's gonna ride Maester again. And then he's like, well, we could go to give him all your stuff, and then we can go to Summerhall, and like my dad will like let you take service there. And Dunk's basically like, I'm not a beggar, like I'm not doing that. That's not. He's like, we're just gonna go give him our stuff, and then that's it. And
But he pretty much said, like, if it came to that, if I lost all my shit, like, I'm sending you back to Summerhall.
Yeah,
You can
and
go
I'd
train
go-
like a Master at Arms.
there's a cool quote. He says like, he's like, my head, like I'm so big, I've hit my head on every beam and every stable and every inn in all of King's Landing. It's like, it's about time my size benefits me. He's like, and basically it means like any place that has guards, not knights but guards. He's like, I could be like a household guard
the
or
King's
anything
Watch
anywhere.
or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, just because he's so big. So Dunk takes his stuff to Uthor, and Uthor's in his tent counting all his coins. And his tent is like dope. Like Moorish carpets, ornate table, the goblets we're drinking out of have like gold snails on them. And he's counting coins, and he like yells at his squire for a coin. And
You didn't test this, boy.
and the boy, he gives it to the boy, and the boy looks at it. He's like, it's not chipped or shaved. Like, I don't see what's wrong with it. It's got a dragon on one side and a head on the other. And he gives it to Dunk to see what's wrong with. And at first, Dunk thinks it's right, but he's like, no, there's something wrong with it. Keep looking. And then Dunk realizes what's up with the coin.
It's a different dragon,
Uther
right?
had to say, read who it is.
Huh?
Well, he said, like, look at that face. Like, come on, Dunk. He pretty much spoon-fed it to him.
No,
He
Dunk.
pulled it wrong.
That's Dunk thinking. Dunk thinks like, okay, hold on. This isn't Ares, who's the current king. Daemon it isn't the king before Daemon the Good, because that king also had a beard, and this one's clean shaven. He's like, Daemon the Good was clean shaven, but I've seen his face before, and that's not what this looks like. And he's thinking it's Daemon the Good because the name on it looks like Daemon, and then that's when he
Yeah.
realizes it's Daemon Blackfire, the rebel. So then he says like, yeah, this is a rebel coin. It's treason to own this, and it's like double treason to pass it, to like spread it around. So, and then I think this one Dunk thinks to himself like, oh, Egg was right. Like, there's a lot of traitors at this tournament, or like past Blackfire supporters.
Yeah.
So how does this conversation with Uthor go?
It's wild what we find out about Uther. That
Genius. Uther's kind of a
He
genius.
is genius, man. He is.
I
smart.
mean, he's just a scallywag. He just rides around from tourney to tourney to come in second place, and he always rigs it so that.
So why doesn't
the
he want to
odds-
be? Why doesn't he want to be in first place?
Is it because he kind of wants to like stay? Oh, he wants the odds to always be
He-
down on him.
He doesn't
so that
want.
He can,
Yeah, he doesn't
bet
want
on
ever
himself.
to people be like, oh, the champion of this tourney, the champion of that tourney. He wants to kind of lay low. He's trying to lowball himself.
Because he wants to have like 5-1 odds to win.
Exactly.
So that he can make more money off it.
But if he shows at a tournament and everyone's like, "Oh, that's the guy who won this tournament and who won that tournament," then everybody's gonna be betting on him instead of against him.
And even we find out later that he goes against like an old ass shit dude, and he makes it go like 9 broken
rounds.
lances deep until he actually like knocks the guy off.
That's the thing I don't get. Like, I get the point of that. Like, if we can extend
He's
this
doing
thing,
spreads.
if we can extend this thing, then my next joust I'll get even like worse odds because I wasn't good enough to knock him off quick. But how do you break a lance on somebody and ensure you're not going to win right away?
I mean, you just hit it.
He's
like,
that
in his
good, dude.
shield.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows exactly. He probably has cracks in his lances.
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
know
say
what I
he
mean?
probably does so much
that's
shit
a
to it.
good call,
He's probably shifty as shit. Snail man. And then also, is this too early? I mean, he got paid to try and kill Dunk.
Yeah, I mean, we find that out in the same conversation. But first, Dunk's like, "I don't have enough money to pay you. You're just gonna have to keep the armor and stuff." And he's like, "I don't want your crappy horse." He's like, "Your horse sucks." And he's like, "I don't want your armor. It's too big for literally anybody." He's like, "All I would do is sell it to some smith and get like a tenth the price just for the metal."
So then he tells Dunk.
Dunk's like getting offended by it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I have no way to pay you back."
He offends him even more, and he asks, "Just ride with me, be in my service, and come to each tourney with me, and let me pretty much be my whipping boy. Let me beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And you'll make a tenth of what I earn." I think he said, or something like that.
It's basically like if me and you were in like a fist fighting, but joined like a bare knuckle boxing ring, and we just went city to city, and I was throwing matches because you would probably beat my ass if we went straight up anyway, just like Duncan Uther did. But if you had to have somebody bet who's gonna win in this fight, me versus you, I'm just freaking twice your size. Everybody's gonna bet on me anyway, just for the size factor. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I
mean, like we said in the beginning, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Dunk, you must be a great knight." Bang! One cloud to the ear.
He sucks.
And he's down.
Yeah.
One clout to the ear.
One clout to the forehead. So Uther's basically his deal is you come with me to 20 tournaments. We're gonna make your sigil something more fearsome rather than a hangman. It'll be like a skull or 3 skulls or like a bear's head or something. Speaking of fearsome sigils, bear head. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
And so we find out that not only does he we kind of talked about it, make the money on getting second place and getting like the second place purse, which is like 30 dragons, which is a freaking ton of money. But also he has his squire out there making these bets. And he said when he went against Dunk, he was getting 3-1 odds. Just like everybody was taking Dunk in this one. And that's why he has a snail as a sigil, because it's like the least menacing thing.
You won't lose to a snail.
He thought this through, man.
Yeah. And he also tells Dunk about Glendon Ball. And like the whole story about
What a great story.
About
what a great story.
the Pussy Willows. Yeah, so
Well, you want to tell it?
Yeah, basically Glendon Ball's mom banged all the dudes before battle.
literally
She
said
she
like
was
100 people.
She was a camp wench.
Yeah, so I think they said they called her Jenny something.
Penny Jenny.
Penny Jenny. And then but the night before the Battle of the Redgrass Field, she bangs like 100 different people all on the same night. So then after that, they called her Redgrass Jenny.
Yeah.
Just because she bangs so many people.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, there's no way to. Uther's like basically like, there's no way to prove this guy's Fireball's son. Like it's literally impossible in this day and age. It's literally impossible to know whose son this guy is. So then, as he's growing
Still
up,
a beast though.
Keep going. What happened? How does his like childhood go?
So he ends up just training, right? The people come in and
So-
bang his mom. Someone trains him.
Yeah, it's people who come and bang all the whores in the whorehouse.
There's a squire who like lives up on the hill, like up from the. So first off, he lives in a brothel with his
Right.
mom and his like sister, and there's a squire who lives nearby, and it says like Glendon got trained by the squire in return for whores, basically.
Yeah, and then the greater part is that a knight came to bang his sister out, who was a virgin, but he
Well-
couldn't afford the maidenhead. So in exchange for her virginity, he knighted Sir Glendon Ball.
Oh my god, that's fucking great. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because there's a part when, and Dunk even says like, he's like, I don't believe it, but then he thinks to himself like, I've heard of people like knighting other knights, in like exchange for gold or like a place to stay. He's like, so I guess it's not beyond the realm of belief that they do it for virginity. Also, there's a selling of a virgin girl's maidenhead in, what is it, book 4? Prologue of book 4? when Pate at the Citadel's trying to, he gets a
Right.
gold. He's trying to get one
There's like
gold.
20 dragons.
It's
or
one
something like
gold.
that. One dragon.
One gold dragon.
One dragon for a maidenhead.
And that's why that's when, I'm not going to get into it, but Pate does something to try and get one gold for the Maidenhead. But it's kind of weird that that's just like a thing that's allowed in this world.
I mean, if you ever seen the movie Taken,
but that's a sex slave. That's different.
Yeah, but when Liam Neeson's daughter gets up there and she's
slaves.
a virgin, she was like 8 times more expensive than every other girl.
Well, yeah, I get the reason, the appeal of that, right?
It's just like a fantasy.
It's just weird that they would just sell that. I guess if you're gonna be
if you're in the business of selling women, what else do they have?
Yeah, I mean that's like the creme de la creme.
I don't know. It just seems weird. It's like to me. It's like you're basically deciding to be a hooker before you've ever like had sex, right? Like I'm cool if you want to be a prostitute.
I don't think she's deciding it. It sounds like her mom fucking sold her, or he sold her.
It seems like she had to.
It seems kind of like sex slave,
right?
I mean, think about it. Your mom is bringing you up in the place where she's getting banged out every night by multiple dudes. So you have no money probably. Your house is at this brothel. What else are they going to do? Like Glendon's lucky enough that he didn't become like the male version of him.
These knights wanted to bang the sister so much they could have just done it by force, right? I think they said there was like 20 knights there. Like Ball's not going to stop 20 knights on his own, which makes me think which makes me think that the sister was consenting at least somewhat.
There's got to be a little bit of muscle there.
I guess it doesn't really matter. Basically, Glendon won his knighthood with his sister's maidenhead.
Great play.
So, do you guys think Glendon Ball is actually Fireball's son?
No.
Probably not, right? But later, I think later in the book they say like blood will tell. Like I think they say that a couple times. Like, oh, he's a bastard. Blood will tell. And Dunk thinks to himself like, no, he's won every joust. He's actually a really good knight. Maybe he is Fireball's son.
I mean, then again, you're going way into like those good genes. I mean, do you need to have a dad that was a good knight to be a good knight? I'm sure it would help, but it's not like his dad trained him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I guess you're right on that one. Okay, so what's next? We hear about that. What'd you say earlier, Glow? The last thing Uthor tells Dunk.
Uthor tells Dunk that he was paid to kill him, and that's why he aimed for the head, and he didn't die.
And Dunk gets way confused. Like, who did I wrong? Like, why are people trying to kill me? What did I do?
But also, we find out that Uthor was paying the Master of Games to get the matches he wants. Because he tells Dunk, he's like, next in my match is going to be the Old Ox. He's like, then I'm going to fight or go against, I forget who he says, either John the Fiddler or Glendon Ball in the last match.
No, it's Green Gantley or something like that.
No, but he plans he thinks he's going to go against
Ox, he was going to beat Glendon Ball.
And then Glendon Ball, then he was going to lose to Glendon Ball. He's going to beat the Old Ox and then lose to the next one in the second to last. I think he was actually lose to John the Fiddler. Whatever. Dunk's like, he learns he's paying the Master Coin, and Dunk doesn't like know what he hates more: the fact that there's knights that are this dishonorable that they'll pay to get the choice they want, or the fact that his first choice was Dunk.
Yeah, that's awful.
It's so bad.
You're an awful knight, Dunk.
Yeah, and then that's also when he tells him that he got paid to try and kill him. That's why I hit him in the head. It was 6 dragons paid up front and 4 more when Dunk actually died.
Yeah, that's a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So
and Dunk didn't even die. He still got 6 dragons out of it.
Yeah. So Dunk goes outside, but Egg's gone. Can't find Egg. So he's looking around for him, goes back to his tent. Then he goes to, then he finds Sir Glendon Ball, who's like getting ready. And we find out that
I did not expect this to happen.
We find out that Glendon Ball had just beat Lord Costain, I think it is. But Lord Costain was like being an ass before the match and saying that he was like a bastard and his mom was a whore and everything. Everything that's basically true, but he was calling him out for it. So afterwards, Ball didn't ransom his stuff back. He's like, I'm keeping your horse, I'm keeping your armor, you're not going to be able to pay me for it. And just kept all this shit.
And a lot of it was he like ruined his armor.
He like hit it with a hammer and everything first.
Yeah, poked holes in his armor. I don't know if he did anything to his horse, but pretty much said like, fuck you, you bastard. Like,
yeah.
Asshole.
You dick bag.
But then him and Dunk get talking and yada yada yada, they become like tight.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, all right, I got your back. Like, don't worry about it.
Well, Dunk's like, come with me, come with us north. Like, come to the wall with us. Like, 2 swords is better than 1. Ball's like, I can't. It's like, my dad was promised a spot on the Kingsguard. Fireball was. We talked about it last time.
And
he's like, I'm going to claim it.
Do you think Glendon Ball knows it's a traitor's
I don't think
20?
so. I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
Because after this, he tells Dunk one more thing. That Peak offered him a place at Star Pike. He's like, you can be one of my household knights if you lose to the Fiddler.
Yeah, if he knew who the Fiddler was, he would be kissing his feet.
Well, he
Yeah.
says this later at the end. He's like, I didn't realize he was the Blackfire's son. If he had, I would have been on
Done
his
anything
side.
for
I would
him.
have fought for him, but I couldn't lose for him. I couldn't lose to him, like on purpose. He's like, I have too much honor to do that. He said that even if he knew he was that's who he was, he wouldn't have
Yeah.
lost to him. Which I like Glendon Ball because he seems like kind of cold and like an asshole, but he's also like Dunk, and he's like stick to his guns. Honor comes first, and I guess that's kind of what you got to be when you're like getting picked on by everybody. Just like let your actions speak for you. If you're the bastard who's also like a dick and he's like doing sly stuff like Sir Uther and everybody finds out about it, you're done.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
as
he's
long
getting
as
no.
you're like being honorable the whole way through, nobody can really. At the end of the day, they can say all they want, but you're still a better knight. You're still, you know what I mean? All that shit until
Yeah,
it costs
I mean,
you your life.
He's not getting any credit for anything he's doing. Like, he does something good, he's jousting his ass off, and it's still, you're just a bastard
Yeah,
son.
everyone's still talking shit on him.
Like,
Yeah.
even if he's a bastard son, he got knighted. He's a knight now. Those are your rules. Like, give it a fucking break.
Yep.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, douchebags.
So then
They're
after
like the
Dunk,
purebloods in Harry Potter.
yeah, mudblood, pure blood. So then after you're talking to Glendon, he's still looking for Egg, but he sees a joust that's going on, and he sees, I think it's Black Tom Heddle, takes his helmet off after a joust, and Dunk realizes, oh, that was the guy who yelled at me when I was
For
touching the
touching
egg
the
yesterday,
egg.
and that was the same person who was talking to Peak on the balcony while I was pissing. So now he knows that like Heddle and Peak are like the two big dogs.
Talking.
behind
Now he
this
thinks
thing.
about what they said again. It's the son and the sword, and is he the father's son? And
And he
they're making
he doesn't
fun of
have the sword,
Butterwell.
yeah.
And, So,
And-
bing, bing, bing.
So how's Heddle
He has a
related to this
sword.
whole like why is Heddle here?
Heddle is the husband of Butterwell's daughter,
Yes.
and he is the master at arms.
Yes.
Master at
Nice.
Arms at this place?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
White
I
walls.
kn-
White
Wall.
White wall?
White walls. So then the snail wins his next match against the old ox, like he thought. So then Dunk's on his way to see the fiddler, who's about to joust, and he's asking about Egg. And on the way in, Alan Cockshaw is like, "How the fuck are you still alive?"
Yeah.
And it's because we find out after Dunk comes out of this tent, Cockshaw was the one who paid Uthor to kill him.
Well, yeah. Does he say anything much to the fiddler? I guess not, because the fiddler had to go joust.
No,
Right?
Dunk goes in to the room and talks to the fiddler.
Right. Do they say anything of importance? I don't
He
think
tells
so.
he tells the fiddler, he's like, "You're not a hedge knight."
Yeah.
He's like, "I know you're not a hedge knight," and he admits it. But right as he's like about to tell him more, Pete comes in. And he's like, "You have to go joust."
Yeah. And he's like, disregard everything he just said.
Yeah. And Dunk confronts Peak and is like, "How much did you pay this guy to lose to the fiddler?"
Yeah. And then walks out like a boss.
Yeah. And then hold on, I don't know what it's about, but I got a quote. My notes they just say quote page 321. Let's see what I got.
Not being prepared, minus.
So the quote I got is Peak talking to Dunk after Dunk confronts him. And Peak says, "Someone's been talking, I see." Peak seated himself in a camp chair. "I have a dozen men outside. I ought to call them in and have them slit your throat. Why don't you? His Grace would take ill." So this is the first time we actually hear somebody call him Your Grace, right? So this is when
Yeah.
we know who he is. Like, oh shit, put the pieces together. And Dunk says this too. He's like, "His Grace." Dunk felt as though somebody had punched him in the belly. Another black dragon, he thought. Another black fire rebellion. And soon a red grass field. The grass was not red when the sun came up. Why this wedding? Lord Butterville wanted a new young wife to warm his bed, and Lord Frey had somewhat a soiled daughter. Their nuptials provided a plausible pretext for something like-minded lords to gather. Most of them invited here had fought for the Black Dragon once. The rest have reason to resent Bloodraven's rule, or nurse grievances and ambitions of their own. Many of us had sons and daughters taken to King's Landing to vouch for our future loyalty, but most of the hostages perished in the Great Spring sickness. Our hands are no longer tied. Our time has come. Ares is weak, a bookish man and no warrior. The commons hardly know him, and what they know, they do not like. His lords love him even less. His father was weak as well, that is true. But when his throne was threatened, he had sons to take the field for him. Baelor and Makar, the hammer and the anvil. But Baelor breaks spears no more, and Prince Makar sulks at the summer hall, at odds with the king and his hand. Aye, Dunk thought, and now some fool hedge knight has delivered his favorite son into the hands of his enemies. How better to ensure that the prince never stirs from Summerhall? There is Bloodraven, he said. He is not weak. No, Lord Peak allowed. But no man loves a sorcerer and kinslayer are accursed in the sight of gods and men. At the first sign of weakness or defeat, Bloodraven men will melt away like summer snows. And if the dream the prince has dreamed comes true, and a living dragon comes forth here from White Walls, Dunk finished for him. The throne is yours. His, said Lord Gorman Peak. I am but a humble servant. He rose. Do not attempt to leave the castle, sir. If you do, I will take it as proof of treachery, and you will answer with your life. We have gone too far to turn back now. So this is when everything finally comes out, figure out everything that's going on. So
Everything I figured out before the joust.
I was trying to feed this to you when we read the first half, right?
I didn't need it. I knew it.
We
Yeah,
overhear.
you didn't know Fiddler was fucking a black dragon, though.
Bullshit. I said that he was the son of either Bittersteel or Damon.
You did, yeah, you did.
You did say that one time.
I
But-
mean, how many times do I have to say it? 10 times for it to count?
I think you said that he was Fireball's real son more than you said that he was
Yeah,
Damon's real son.
yeah.
But it's good because the two things that I really tried
Bullshit.
to point out.
We're gonna go back into the records.
I
on
edited
this.
it and listened to it when I edited.
You're gonna go back.
I
into the
remember
records.
you said maybe it's Fireball song.
Right now, here in this segment, you're gonna hear from podcast 5.
Here's what it's gonna say. It's gonna say in Jeff's voice. I think he's Bittersteel's son or Fireball's son or Damon's son. It's like, yeah, he might be Bittersteel's son or Fireball's son.
So the only way that would happen is if this rebellion happens and he's the guy, the son of the father. So maybe he's the son of Bittersteel or the son of the Fireball. I don't know. You know what I mean? So that was my other thing. Is he not actually John the Fiddler? Is he maybe one of the Blackfire's son came across? I don't. Yeah, accurate as shit. What
But
do you
I just want to point back to the two quotes I pointed out. The one was like about Milk Blood. Won't
Milk
believe
Blood
this because he doesn't have the sword.
mean? Yeah.
And then the second one is when John and the Fiddler are on the roof, and the Fiddler's literally saying like, "You're gonna be a Kingsguard," and Dunk's like, "I'll never be a Kingsguard. There's a bitter chance that like this dragon hatches or whatever."
Yeah.
And the Fiddler's like, "No, okay, I guess I'll have to take the throne."
Yeah.
And he's like literally telling him that he plans on taking the throne, and then he's gonna make him Kingsguard. Like, how else are you gonna do it? I think that's when you got.
And Dunk's just like, nah, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another thing. Like this whole Targaryen sword. You never hear about it other than these stories. Maybe they bring it
Blackfire?
up. Why isn't that like a big thing? Like, is it safe to say that someone in the Golden Company has Blackfire?
Probably, right? It doesn't make sense why John the Fiddler would come across the sea without it.
Right.
So maybe not. Because if you think about it, why doesn't he have it here? Why would
Why wouldn't I
Bittersteel
guess
send him with it?
Damon's son would get it first? Like Bittersteel wouldn't get
Is
it.
Damon definitely? Yeah, Damon said that's right.
Damon died on the red grass, right?
Yeah. Damon and his two sons, his two twin sons, who
Yeah.
John the Fiddler talks about. Also, I have a quote from the first one, from the first half of this that I didn't talk about in the first half because I didn't want to spoil anything, give it away too much for Jeff. But during the toast, like before the wedding, John the Fiddler, like everybody's giving toast, and John's like, "To my two brothers, to my two older brothers," and everybody like cheers. So I wonder, like, does everybody already know who this guy is?
They couldn't, because then that just makes like the joust fake as shit.
Yeah. Well, it seems like everybody knows the joust is fake as shit except for John the Fiddler. That's one
Yeah,
thing to
that's
point out
true.
is all this shit that Peake's doing, John the Fiddler doesn't even know about.
Right. Right.
John the
It's
Fiddler's
so-
like a pretty
it's
cool
such
guy.
bull-
Wait, does
Bullshit.
he? He doesn't know it all?
Nah.
No, he doesn't.
We'll get
'Cause-
to it later when
yeah.
they accuse Fireball. But Dunk's
Yeah.
like, yeah, they planted the egg on him, and John the Fiddler's like,
Mhm.
is this true? Like, Peake, is this true?
Yeah. No, he's a fool.
All right, yeah. So that was the quote I had about when they find out about that. So Dunk goes out, and this is what we're talking about. The Fiddler wins his next joust. I forget who he's going against, and then the next match is Big Tom Heddle versus Uther, and Dunk realizes like Uthor's pissed.
That's
because-
that's not my matchup. That's not the matchup I paid for.
And why did they match him up against Heddle?
Because they needed the Fiddler to win, and they knew that Tom would lose.
Yeah.
They didn't know if Uther would lose to the Fiddler.
And Dunk's like,
But
Dunk's kind of
meanwhile-
cracking up to himself.
Yeah, he's like, you dumbasses. Like, he would have
Lost-
backflipped off.
he was
yeah,
going to lose
yeah.
for free. He was trying to get second.
Yeah. Like, you idiots.
Yeah. And before the joust, Pete goes up onto the stands where everybody's looking, and that's when he accuses Glendon Ball of stealing the egg. He's like, the egg is gone. He's like, it must be Fireball. And Dunk's like, that makes no sense. He's literally been here all day. How would he have stolen this?
Something else to note is that Butterwell and Frey aren't
Gone.
there at the.
Yeah, they're gone at this
Did you
point.
say that?
I didn't. No, it's a good call.
Okay. Yeah.
Butterwell and Frey are gone. Dunk's like, why is the wife still here? But Lord Frey. Also, I think you're right. I think Lord Frey is not Walder, but I think his squawking son, who Dunk says is like super annoying, is the one who was like playing with the pig bladders with the dwarfs and stuff. It's his oldest son.
I was gonna say I think it's probably him because
just
this
the
guy
age,
would be way
just the age
too
thing
old.
makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just right. He says those two are gone. Dunk notices it, and then Peak accuses Glendon Ball of stealing the egg, and he's like, "Go arrest him! Like, search his saddlebags." But before they can do it, Cockshaw, who was the one talking about the Fiddler's tent, and we find out here that he's the one who tried to kill Dunk. He's like, "If you want egg, you got to come with me now. I know where he is."
Yeah.
So
Smart
where's he
move.
take him?
Takes
the
him
well.
to the well.
Yeah. He puts a dagger in his back, and Dunk has no sword or armor because he had to give it all to Uthor. So he is completely unarmed, and there's like a dagger in his back. And he tries to like force him to jump in the well, and Damon's like, I can't swim. He's like, I'm
Dunk
screwed.
says it, not Damon.
Or yeah, Dunk says
Yeah.
that. And
I
we
can't
find out
swim.
why Cockshaw is so pissed at Dunk. He tells a story. He's like, about when they were kids, when Cockshaw and the Fiddler were kids. They're 22 now. He says, I forget it. I forget the brothers' names. I think it's actually Aegon and Aemon, who are John the Fiddler's older brothers, the twins who died on the Redgrass Field. Cockshaw's like, yeah, they were always assholes. Yeah, Aemon and Aegon were always assholes. But Damon was like always really kind to me, and we were like best friends as kids. He's like, he loved me, and I was gonna be the leader of his Kingsguard until you came along. He's like, as soon as he saw you on the road, he like stopped talking to me, basically. Is he like gay for the Fiddler? Are these two like kind of?
I don't think it's like gay. Maybe it goes that far.
It could
I
be,
think it's
but
more of. I think it's more of like if you're a knight, you just want to serve, kind of like Brienne. I mean, I guess she loved Renly, so it doesn't. That's not a very good comparison, but she also just wants to serve that person to the utmost ability. You know what I mean? It's kind of like having that like head coach you want to just play your ass off for.
Here's just the quote he says. Aemon and Aegon, who were the older brothers. Wretched, witless bullies just like you. When we were little, they took pleasure in tormenting me and Daemon both. I wept when Bittersteel carried him off to exile, and again when Lord Peake told me he was coming home. But then he saw you upon the road and forgot that I existed. Cockshaw waved his dagger threateningly. You can go into the water as you are, or you can go in bleeding. Which will it be? It just seems, I mean, there's not much to go off there, but it seems like it's more than just like he wanted to be Kingsguard. Like when he was a kid, that couldn't have been his plan because the brothers were still alive. Right? And he cried when he got sent
When he
away. And he
left.
cried now when he comes back, even though he's like over 20 years old. It's like,
I cry
know.
every time I see Jeff.
it's because Jeff's pretty ugly.
Not true.
It's 'cause-
Followers, listeners.
All right, yeah. So then what happens?
Oh, and Dunk goes
just
all
goes
fucking
John Wick on his ass.
King's Landing. What areas he from in King's? Oh, he goes flea bottom on his ass.
That's how Dunk just gets out of every single one of these books. He just ends up being a crappy knight, losing the joust, falling off his horse in the water against Long Inch, losing all his shit in this one. Just grabs a stone off this well and literally just beats the guy's face in. He hears his teeth crack and all that shit. Twists his arm around and just gives him a boot right into the well.
Fucking badass. Don't drink
Awesome.
that water tomorrow.
I love Dunk, dude. My kind of fighter.
Doesn't he get his arm cut here too?
He
When
gets
he's-
stabbed.
Yeah,
he gets
yeah.
stabbed
His arm
almost
gets
immediately.
cut pretty bad.
Yeah, he gets sliced. Yeah, in his shield arm. So not his good arm, but yeah, it's sliced up.
And
real
it
good.
doesn't hit the bone either. And Dunk's able to counter it, throw Cocksail. What's his name?
Cockshaw.
Yeah,
Cockshaw
Cockshaw.
into the well.
I love the part
And-
when he's like finding a loose rock and he's like, all right, you got it, and
Yeah,
fucking smashes his face in.
I could picture that very clearly. Like that's a pure.
And he says like he hears his teeth break. It's just like, oh, that'd be so bad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
But
So
once Cockshot
go ahead.
falls into the water, here comes Plum out of the shadows.
And this is the weird stuff about Plum. I'll read some of it. Well done, sir. Dunk whirled. Through the rain, all he could make out was a hooded shape and a single pale white eye. It was only when the man came forward that the shrouded face of the cow took familiar features of Sir Maynard Plum. The pale eye no more than the moonstone brooch that pinned his cloak at the shoulder. Down in the well, Sir Alan was thrashing and splashing and calling for help. Murder! Someone help me! He tried to kill me, Dunk said. That would explain the blood. Blood? He looked down. His left arm was red from shoulder to elbow, his tunic clinging to his skin. Oh. Dunk did not remember falling, but suddenly he was on the ground, with raindrops running down his face. He could hear Lord Alan whimpering from the well, but his splashing had grown feebler. We need to have that arm bound up. Sir Maynard slipped his own arm under Dunk. Up now. I cannot lift you by myself. Use your legs. Dunk used his legs. Lord Alan, he's going to drown. He shan't be missed, least of all by the fiddler. He's not, Dunk gasped, pale with pain. A fiddler. No, he is Damon of House Blackfire, second of his name, or he would style himself if he ever achieved the Iron Throne. You would be surprised to know how many lords prefer their kings brave and stupid. Damon is young and dashing and looks good on a horse. The sounds from the well were almost too faint to hear. Shouldn't we throw his lordship down a rope? Save him now to execute him later? I think not. Let him eat the meal that he meant to serve you. Come, lean on me. Plum guided him across the yard. This close, there was something queer about the cast of Sir Maynard's features. The longer Dunk looked, the less he seemed to see. I did urge you to flee, you will recall, but you esteemed your honor more than your life. An honorable death is well and good, but if the life at stake is not your own, what then? Would your answer be the same? Whose life? From the well came one last splash. Egg! Do you mean Egg? Dunk clutched at Plum's arm. Where is he? With the gods, and you will know why, I think. So then they go back. This is when Plum takes him back to his tent and patches him up.
Yeah.
Why the hell's Plum making him think Egg's dead?
Yeah, what a stupid thing to say. Oh, he's with the gods now.
Yeah.
Why not just say he's in the Sept?
Yeah, why is he making it all he's just like Bran, dude. He's just like Bran. He's Bloodraven. He's got to be all mysterious.
I kind of think he wants him to feel like he's responsible for, if Egg would be dead. How do you feel now, dumb shit?
Because then when Dunk finds out,
listen to me next time.
Yeah, because then when Dunk finds out he's not dead, he has all those feelings. He's like, I cannot let Egg die. Right?
Yeah.
If you think somebody's dead and you're like, oh wait, they're not, then I'll do anything to save them because I know what that feels like.
That's
if I think
exactly what they're
dead.
trying to do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Bloodraven's trying to do. And I'm not calling him Plum anymore because he's Bloodraven. Confirmed.
I think this is the last time we see him.
Confirmed.
This is the last time we see him.
If he is Bloodraven, Bloodraven's kind of a good dude.
I read this a couple times, but I've never read that with that in mind. That is Plum Bloodraven. But this time when I went into it, I had that in mind. And there's evidence from it from the very beginning. Just he's just dropping little hints of knowledge. Just how does he know that? How does he know that? Even at the campfire, I don't have any examples, but at the campfire, there's one or two things he says just makes you think. So Plum also after this, it's he talks to Plum for 2.5 pages, so I'm not going to read it all. He does say that Plum tells him Egg tried to use his boot, and Butterwell got scared immediately. And was like, oh, fuck, I chose the wrong size.
Dude, he's such a bitch.
Well, Dunk is also the man when we go find him.
Yeah.
And Dunk even asked Plum, he's like, who are you?
He's Bloodraven. Come on. It's confirmed. I confirmed it at the 10-minute mark.
I don't need you to confirm it. I need George R. R. Martin to confirm it.
Do you think Bloodraven talked to Egg?
No, I don't think so.
Not at all?
Nah. Well, at the end, but I don't think before any of this happened. No way. That's an argument against Plum being Bloodraven. Bloodraven, the second he saw what was going on, that Egg was here, he would have pulled them aside and been like, "Get the fuck out!" Before Plum meets Dunk and Egg before they get to the tournament. No way Bloodraven would actually let
Egg
them
would have
go.
told him to shut the fuck up.
But then Dunk would have been like, "Oh yeah, you're right. We're gonna get the fuck out of here."
Oh, it's a Traitors tourney? Yeah, let's leave.
Yeah, yeah. If Plum knew what was going on the whole time and he is Bloodraven, there might be a thing where Plum gets removed halfway through.
Maybe he didn't know all the information at that point.
I don't think they can see the future. He just knows what's going on currently.
But why the hell is he disguised as Plum? Why the hell is he disguised as Plum going to this tournament if he doesn't know what's going on?
He
'Cause
so
he's
he has
suspicious.
suspicions about this traitor's tourney, but he doesn't really know what's going on. That's why he's going to find
He's
out
like,
more
oh
information.
shit, why are all these old traders meeting up together? I should go check it out in disguise.
Yeah, and then when you meet Egg at the freaking Weirwood Grove the night before the tournament, you'd be like, "Hey, that's my cousin. Get the fuck out of here."
Nah. Because that would blow your cover.
Yeah, but if you're only telling Egg,
Nah.
I don't
And
know.
then we have no story, so shut up.
It just seems weird. Like that.
That gets
That's,
into the whole thing about Bran and Bloodraven ruining the story, and that's why they suck as characters.
that's just a counterpoint to Plum being Bloodraven. I think he probably is, but that's just a counterpoint to it.
All right, I don't want to hear anymore.
Okay,
so we
then
get
he-
into the
He
sept,
cleans his arm.
and
Yeah, Dunk
Alright,
goes back.
I'll give you a break. Shut the fuck up.
He gets his sword back first from Uther.
He gets all of his armor, and Will's like, "I'm gonna take my armor, or I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
Will's like, "Okay, it's over here. I'll help you put it on."
Will is Uther's squire. Yeah.
So then
Oh,
he
Will,
goes
yeah.
to the sept, and he sees Butterwell is just praying by the mother.
The crone for wisdom.
Okay, so he's down just praying. He sees a couple guards by him, and I think he talks to him first. He's like, "Hey, where's Egg at?" Or Egg's like, "Hey, I told you he'd come for me." Blah blah blah. Like Egg's just a
Yeah,
Egg's
Be an
the man.
egg.
And we
Egg
find
be an
out-
egg.
that Egg, once he tried to use his boot, it kind of worked better than Dunk's thinking when he goes there. Dunk's thinking
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, he tried to use his boot and got captured by the traitors."
Yeah, Egg scares the shit out of him.
Egg
Yeah,
scared the
he's
shit out of Butterwell.
terrified. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like,
My dad and his army's coming, and they're already knocking on the gates, and you better watch out, or they're gonna kill all of you. And Butterwell
And
is
Butterwell's
just,
like, "This was not my idea. It was all
Yeah.
Peak and all Heddle. Like, I did not want anything to do with this." And Egg is like just shouting back at Butterwell. He's like, "Heddle's your master of arms." He's like, "If he was in on this, I don't care if you knew about it or not. Like, you're in on this too. He's your man."
the great thing is that Egg, especially from the pictures, is he's so small
he's tiny,
that
dude.
that when you just think of him like standing, like I can see him standing up on a table, just like yelling at this old ass man, and the old man's cowering, and just goes and prays in the sept.
It makes me think of two different things from the show. Same situation, just twice. Arya trying to get into somewhere and getting shut out by guards. Right? When she is down in sees the dragon skulls the first time and tries to get back into the Red Keep, and they're like, "Get out of here, no beggars!" And she's like, "Get out of my way! My father's like the hand of the king or whatever." And she just like telling the guardsmen how it is. And then same thing when she goes to Winterfell, and
He's
at
like,
the
"Yo,
end-
go get your sister, or go get my sister, and you'll
Yeah.
find out."
yeah, I guess she's not too screamy there, but like just Arya before she becomes like a faceless man, how she doesn't give a fuck who she's talking to, she'll just like yell at him. You know, that it's like the Egg vibe. Egg and Arya would be. Imagine
they have-
Egg and Arya being a couple.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
What's that called when people do make up fake couples online? Shipping. No, that's a thing.
Shipping. Yeah,
Shipping.
that's just
I-
shipping.
I'm-
yeah.
I don't know what shipping means, but I want to ship Egg and Arya.
I thought you were saying like
That'd be
you
a good
create
one.
A couple name for him, like
Oh no, like
Amria.
Brangelina.
Amria, yeah.
Amria.
Egg,
Ari,
Eggria.
Orion,
Eggria.
Orion,
Eggria.
Argia.
Orion. I like Orion.
Argon.
Argon.
All right, yeah. So basically, all this shit's going on, and while they're in the middle of talking about this, in comes Big Tom Heddle.
Tom Heddle, big dog.
Big dog. Woof woof. Big dog's gonna eat. We're gonna try
Real
to
quick
eat.
before we got that, we find out that when Egg tried to use his boot, it wasn't just Butterwell there. Frey was also there, and so were a bunch of
And
guards.
and Frey hit
Oh yeah, Frey hit the Jets.
Frey
That's right.
fucking
Yeah.
dipped
out
and,
of there.
and
Took
Dunk.
little water by the hand and ran.
Yeah, and Dunk's thinking
I
like,
forgot about that.
"Shit, I can't do this." Or Dunk's thinking, "Butterwell can't do that. This is Butterwell's house. He can't flee. He's got to figure
Right.
something out," which is why
At
he's
some
here.
point, at some point he's fucked.
Or else he would have been gone. He would have been like, outie.
I mean, honestly, it's a even bigger pussier look. But if he just left with the phrase and been like, "Hey, like, bring your army to my castle. These are all traitors."
Yeah.
It probably, it would have looked bad because you're a pussy. But when you're master of arms and everyone's in on it too, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. And we find out where Frey went. We find out at the end of the book, but Frey's like kind of the savior here. Frey's the one that goes and like kind of gets all like rallies the troops.
Yeah.
It would probably
He
happen,
goes like,
assuming Plum is Bloodraven. It was probably happening anyway. But
Right.
Frey,
No, it was definitely. You got to think about how far it takes these people.
Wait, Frey gathered the troops?
he comes back with the rest of the army.
Oh, he probably ran into him.
And we just got to talk about armies marching. It takes them months to march.
Yeah, they were like fucking ready.
They were there. I mean, they come in the next
The next day.
the next day. Yeah,
the next morning,
day.
like when dawn's coming the next morning.
Yeah.
A little quote about why Egg made the move he did when he gave him the boot. Egg shook his head.
Bloodraven quote, right?
Yeah, when they're talking about who's talking about stealing the dragon egg, Dunk says, "Not you, I hope." Egg shook his head. "No, sir. I knew I was in trouble when the maester showed Lord Butterwell my ring. I thought about saying that I'd stolen it, but I didn't think you would believe me. Then I remembered this one time I heard my father talking about something Lord Bloodraven said, about how it's better to be frightening than frightened. So I told him that my father had sent us here to spy for him, and that he was on his way here with an army, that his lordship had best release me and give up this treason or it would be in his head." He smiled a sour smile. "It worked better than I thought it would, sir."
Dunk's like, it's not a game anymore.
I just like picture like Dunk looking over Egg's like, "It worked better than I thought it would," and then Dunk's like looks over his shoulder and Butterwell's literally pissing himself in the corner.
Yeah. or Egg's just yelling at Butterwell and he's so scared and he just like Jim Halpert looks over to the camera.
Yeah. Also, this picture, the next picture in this book, the one that's like I think it might be the only full page picture we get.
Yeah.
It's of Butterwell, Dunk, Egg, and the three guardsmen versus Tom Heddle and like the 24 he brings with him or whatever.
There's no way they win. I mean, if the other guardsmen, they must just fully respect one-on-one.
This is actually a call. They don't mention it at all, but this is a callback to the last short story, The Little Lion. What happens in the Little Lion story?
There was a shit ton of... Oh, in the Little Lion?
They are completely outnumbered. But when the Little Lion stabs the Lannister... They all stop, Once the leader's dead, they all leave.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, they're not even trying to fight.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't say that the three guardsmen die.
Well, it's because when Heddle comes in, he's like, "Get the boy," and Butterwell's like, "No, don't get him." So the guard are kind of like conflicted between Lord and Master of Arms.
And he kind of challenges him, like, and Dunk's like, "I'm better with sword."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Go fuck yourself. You're no real dude."
Yeah, and this is the only time Dunk ever in all the books is like actually decent at anything relating to knighthood. Besides like being honorable and chivalrous and all that stuff.
Dude, he can fight, man. I don't know what you're talking about. He's the Tim Tebow of fucking fights. He knows how to win. Yeah. He finds a way.
But he hasn't landed a single sword blow or joust blow in 2.5 short stories. This book is 355 pages long, and Dunk doesn't land a single sword hit or lance blow until page 340.
Yeah, and he slices off his arm. It's not like it's not a fatal blow either.
Yeah, well, he gets him in the leg first.
Yeah, he like slices his hamstring right or.
So the first time I read this, and tell me if you guys thought something different. Dunk is just standing there, and he just like he takes like 5 sword hits in his shield, which his arm is already like cut. And hurting,
and he's just bleeding
until he gets back against the wall, and then he like charges at him with his shield. And I'm like, well, Dunk's just gonna knock this guy over and punch him in the face like he does everybody else. But Tom Heddle is like also big, not as big as Dunk, but like pretty big. So he actually doesn't fall over when Dunk does that. And that was like the biggest surprise in all 3 books. Is like, wow, Dunk's actually gonna win a sword fight right now.
It just surprised me of how quickly Tom Heddle went from slashing and gashing to you got hit in the leg. Now you're dead.
Dude, I mean, the thing is, once you get a sword halfway through your thigh, you're probably not doing that great.
You can't step too well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't. I mean, it didn't even give him a shot to like counter one blow. Like the first swing of Dunk's sword hits him.
He timed it, dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know about timing.
And then the second sword
shit about timing.
chops off the forearm.
Yeah, that's wild.
Bad
and also, the same thing happens as the last time, and it happens in the first book, but not to Dunk. Every time Dunk's in a fight, and his back's against the wall, you get his #1 fan. "Get him, sir! Get him! Get him, sir!" Yeah. Just Egg yelling at him. Did the same thing against Longinch right before he wins that fight. Does the same thing when Dunk's backed up against the wall here. Just like
it'd be great to get an Egg point of view. Like if they did point of view chapters, and you could just see like Egg going like, "Come on, sir, get him!" And he's like, "Oh my god, this guy fucking sucks."
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing?
I was like, what the fuck was I thinking when I told my dad I wouldn't be a
Yeah.
squire for anybody except for this fool,
Yeah.
this freaking lunk. All right, so after that, 2 guard flee, and Dunk's like, okay, they're going to tell Peak what just happened. But the other like 10 or so stick around and start listening to Butterwell, and
Yeah.
Butterwell's plan is, let's get the fuck out of Dodge. He's like,
Yeah,
I don't care if it's my house, we're gone.
And Dunk tells him to take Egg with him.
Yeah, Dunk's like, go with him. Don't worry about me. I got my own thing to do.
Dunk's like, I got a plan.
And he tells him to, as soon as he can, take Rain, because Rain's probably a better horse than any Butterwell has, and get to
I think he
Maidenpool.
just tells Egg. He just tells Egg.
Yeah, he tells Egg. He's like, get away
Yeah.
from Butterwell, get to Maidenpool, not King's Landing. It's closer.
Yeah.
So Dunk goes to the Great Hall, and this is when Dunk grows a sack out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Goes to the Great Hall. Everyone's feasting. He sits down next to Kyle the Cat. They talk a little bit, and then he stands up in the middle of this huge hall full of rebels and yells, "Your Grace," at John the Fiddler. And he doesn't answer.
But John the Fiddler doesn't. Are you sure? I thought he didn't hesitate at all.
He doesn't
and
answer.
answered him.
He says, "Your Grace," and then like a few people got quiet, and but he didn't say anything. And he's like, "Damon," and he calls him by like his real name, and that's
Yeah.
when he starts talking, and he demands that Glendon Ball be set free. And the Fiddler says, he's like, I can't. He stole the egg. He's like guilty. And Dunk's like, no, Peak planted it. Like blah blah blah. And Peak's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Blah 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 blah. And he's like, we're working on a confession right now. We'll have it soon. And Dunk's like, you're torturing him. He'll say whatever you want if you keep him down there long enough. And this is where, like, thank God Dunk called this right with the Fiddler. Like, if the Fiddler was in on any of this, Dunk's head is just getting snipped off right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very true. Yeah. I mean, the Fiddler's fucked either way because Blackfire or Bloodraven's coming.
Bloodraven also told him, like, he's young and, you know, he's brave, but he's not very smart.
Yeah, brave
either.
and stupid. He's like, common people
Yeah.
like brave and stupid over
Yeah.
old and smart.
Yeah.
So Dunk basically is like, if you believe Peak, tell him to bring Glendon Ball up here and bring the egg with him. It's like, I bet you it's nothing more than like a painted stone. And the agreement is that I guess the Fiddler doesn't ever examine Glendon Ball, but he's like, I'll let him defend himself in a trial by combat.
He's a knight. It all comes back to trial by combat.
Every single one. Yep. And Dunk tells him that the whole reason, he's like, every person you fought has been paid off, and the reason that they arrested Glendon Ball was because he was the only one they couldn't pay off.
Yeah.
Then that's when it kind of like cuts out of this scene to Dunk and Kyle the Cat taking care of
and
Fireball.
There's somebody else too, isn't there?
No, because Plum's gone. I think it's just those two taking care of Glendon Ball, and he is banged up. He's like missing teeth. He has like iron like brands on his chest from where they were like burning it.
Yeah, they were definitely torturing the shit out of him.
His eyes were like bruised shut.
Yeah, just blood all over him. He's missing 3 fingernails, and he's
so
out of it.
In no condition to fucking fight.
Yeah, he's so out of it. He says like, Dunk's like, "Are you good to joust?" And he's like, "Do I have all my fingers?" Like he literally doesn't even know if he has all his fingers.
Yeah.
He's like, Heddle said he was gonna take all my fingers. Is that who I'm jousting? And Dunk's like, "No, I killed him." He's like, "You're jousting the Fiddler," but Dunk didn't really kill Heddle, or did he? Did he die? I guess you probably die if you lose your arm in the olden days, right?
Not if there's a maester on hand.
They'd have to burn it immediately.
Yeah.
They'd have to burn the cut immediately to stop the bleeding. I guess he probably did bleed out because I thought they had him for questioning later on, but maybe not.
And this is where we get the quote that I mentioned earlier, where Damon's like, "If I would have known he was Damon, I would have fought for him. I would have died for him, but I couldn't lose for him." So then it cuts real quick to now we're at the tourney.
Did he say if he knew it was Damon that he wouldn't lose for him still?
Yeah, I think he was just saying like that's something I couldn't do. But then we get to the tourney. Here's another awesome callback. They're like getting him ready. Dunk's like, I remember how to be a squire. I was fastening his helmet and everything. And Glendon Ball asks for an 8-foot war lance.
Yeah, it's just a great callback again.
And Dunk using a little Baylor Breakspear
Baylor wisdom
knowledge.
What I don't understand is, so of course, if you didn't remember from the Hedge Knight, they switch out his war lance for a tourney lance, which is longer. And they start the joust, and boom, Glendon Ball knocks him off the horse
First go.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Why didn't they keep going to the death? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think
Yeah, that does
and,
make sense. Maybe it's different tourney rules. You
Yeah.
know, like
yeah, I don't know.
Because if that happened in the Hedge Knight, you're still fighting. It's not like it was done. But
They say so. I think all that they say is that happens. Glendon Ball starts turning around. Dunk grabs the reins of the Fiddler's horse,
yeah,
Damon's horse, to try and stop it because it kept going. And then when that's happening is when trumpets start sounding.
yeah.
It's like right at the same time. Like trumpets start sounding like right as all that's happening. So maybe that's
Mhm.
why. But yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. It probably should have
Yeah.
been to the death.
Maybe that's why. And I love how Damon tries to rally the troops right then. Like, all right, here we go. Like, let's go fight. Bitch, you just got knocked the fuck
Well,
out.
and
No
by
one's
someone that was
following
just
you.
tortured.
And that's like one of the huge mistakes because he even points out. Dunk says he like yells to everybody and nobody answers, and he pulls his sword out and says like, "Let's
And
go
it's-
fight them." And he says like,
and it
"But it
wasn't
wasn't the
Blackfire.
right sword." Yeah.
Yeah.
If that was the right sword, maybe I don't think they win this fight, but maybe it goes a little differently, right? Maybe there is
Maybe
a
he's
fight.
got some people behind him for sure, but
And we get there's an army outside. Bloodraven's there. 3 Kingsguard are there. A ton of like places like Harrenhal's there. The lady who owns Harrenhal, the Freys are back. Just like everybody who's nearby.
a bunch of castles.
Everybody
yeah.
who's nearby just comes up. Then, friggin' Damon, John the Fiddler, rides out alone, and he's like, "I'll fight Bloodraven or Ares 1-on-1. Let's go." And he probably would win because like neither of them are like great fighters. Like
Yeah,
Bloodraven's more of an
they're
archer.
older anyway.
But still, that's kind of ballsy to do, especially after you just got your ass beat in a joust. Like they said, he was literally covered head to toe.
Brave
in
and
mud.
stupid. Brave and stupid. The mud dragon, the brown dragon.
The brown
that they call
dragon, yeah.
Is that what they called him?
Somebody calls him the
Yeah.
brown dragon when he stands up and he's covered in mud. Yeah.
it.
So he tells them to 1v1 him. They're looking around. Plum was gone. Can't find Plum anywhere. Dunk says that he vanished. Roland Craig Hall, who was one of the Kingsguard, I think one of the Kingsguard who fought against Dunk in the first books, which is why he knows what Dunk looks like, comes and gets Dunk and takes him to Bloodraven. When he gets to Bloodraven, Heddle and Peek's head are like on spikes outside, and he closes Peek's eyes.
Yeah, that's a great
And
part.
Craig Hall, the Kingsguard who's escorting him, asks him why he does that. You remember what he says?
Oh, I forget
I
what
do.
he says here.
Go ahead.
So he says, without him, I'd never have been anything more than the bastard of
The
flea
flea
bottom.
bottom.
or
Yeah, he's
whatever.
like he killed the
Yeah.
guy, and this is what I said in the first one. I didn't even remember this part, but I was like, why is Dunk so mad at Peek for no reason? Like Peek is kind of the one who opened the spot for
Yeah.
Dunk to become anything but a bum and flea bottom, and that's when he does it. He like closes him. He's like, why'd you do this? Like his Ravens will have at him soon enough. He's like, but I owe him that much for where I am now.
Yeah.
So he goes in the tent. Bloodraven is talking. It's Bloodraven, Egg, Butterwell, Frey, and young Walder Frey. And he's telling Butterwell that he's like, I believe one in every 10 words you're saying, so I'll leave you 1/10 of the land that you own.
Mhm.
He's like, what about white walls? Please let me have white walls. He's like, no, I'm tearing white walls down, stone by stone,
And covering it with
and
salt.
sowing the fields with salt so nothing ever grows here ever again. He's like, the red grass field, Blackfire supporters still take like flowers there and stuff. He's like, this white walls will not become a monument to the Black Dragon like the red grass field is.
Yeah.
Then he dismisses them and he's just talking to Dunk. And Dunk says like Kyle, like Sir Kyle the Cat and Sir Plum and Glendon Ball, they all help me. And Egg like demands that Glendon Ball is released.
Yeah.
I forget. I think Bloodraven like kind of just like skirts around it. I don't think he even like acknowledges it. He just tells Egg to shut up. And he's like, He's like, you're too loud and nosy. I should take you back to King's Landing, but your father would hate me. He's like, so I don't know what to do with you. Maybe I should take you back to Summerhall. And Egg's like, just let me stay with Dunk. And like he finally agrees that he can do that. And Egg's like, you also have to give us like gold. Like we don't have any gold. And he's like, man, you are like loud and obnoxious. Fine, you can have as much gold as you want within reason.
You
And
are
Dunk-
loud and
But
obnoxious.
Dunk, again, being classic honorable Dunk, he's like, okay, we'll take it, but only as a loan. He's like, I'll pay you back someday. Dunk is just like, won't take
It's
anything.
full.
Just doesn't want to take
Full.
charity.
He's an honorable man. He's a hedge knight has his honor, guys.
So Dunk asks what will happen to John the Fiddler / Damon Blackfire II. And what does Bloodraven say?
He's taken back to King's Landing, and
He said ultimately it's
They're-
Ares' decision, but probably
they're not gonna execute him.
Yeah, I don't think
because-
he's gonna kill him, right?
No, they don't, because if they do, then that opens up the door for the next Blackfire
The next
to
eldest
take
son.
up the helm. And if there's no Blackfire, then, or if there's still this guy, then you can't kind of like raise the banners again
Exactly.
because your king is still
It's
alive.
like you can't have a new king when we have your old one, basically. Egg
Smart
asks,
man.
Egg asks, like, but what happened to the dragon's egg? And Bloodraven says, I assume someone climbed up the privy shaft and stole it if the guards didn't see anyone come or go. And Egg's like, that's too big for a person. How could somebody do that? And Bloodraven was like, maybe it was a child. And that's when Dunk's like, or a dwarf. And that's the last line of the.
Yeah.
Or a dwarf, fucking
so
dwarf
what
smelling
happened,
like
like-
shit.
What happened from Bloodraven's perspective? Give me this whole story from Bloodraven's perspective, Jeff or Glow, either
From
one.
the beginning,
Sure.
Well,
if
it
he's
starts
Plum,
out, hey,
say
man.
he's dressed up as Plum. He meets Dunk and Egg going to the Traders' Tourney.
Well, no, he meets what's his name and what's his name first.
Kyle and Glenn and Ball.
Yeah. So he's got to know something's up. So he probably has his bannerman ready to go.
Yeah.
As he's going there, like, yo, guys, be ready for a Raven. I'm going to probably be sending it.
Okay,
Pretty
I'm
soon.
I'm with that.
He sees Egg and fucking Dunk. Maybe he doesn't recognize Egg without hair. I doubt. He definitely seen him without hair before.
Yeah, he's got to know him.
Uh,
The thing is, like,
some-
how does he have this connection with the dwarfs? Like, how does he know that if he steals the egg, like, what's going to happen if he steals the egg?
I don't think he had a connection with the dwarves. He just didn't care that the dwarves were stealing the egg.
Well, Dunk says, or a dwarf. Dunk blurted, 1,000 eyes in one. Why shouldn't some of them belong to a trope of comic dwarfs?
So, I mean, maybe Bloodraven wanted it for. I mean, again, he's the Master of Whisperers. He's the three-eyed Raven all in one. He's the hand, so.
well, if he knows the Blackfire's there, he'll probably want to raise a dragon somehow. And if he steals the egg, he can't raise the dragon.
Does he somehow know about Damon's dream? Right? About
Possibly.
the dragon hatching. And if he does he believe it and that's why he steals the egg?
Or he's just taking all precaution, like, all right, well, this is an egg.
It
I-
has the potential to
fuck that,
hatch.
like-
They're not allowed to have one. No Blackfire should have an egg.
Yeah. I think he's just taking precaution. I think the whole thing from his perspective is taking precaution. And like you kind of said, I think he cares about Egg, but again, Egg is still like 7th in line for
Yeah,
the throne.
definitely not number one
So
concern.
it's not like he's like, oh man, Egg died. Like he'd be sad.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wasn't too sad when Aaron and all those other fucks
And
died.
the thing is, if Egg died and Makar was pissed, it's not Bloodraven's fault, right? He could always be like, "Oh, I didn't know it was Egg. I thought it was just some Hedge Knight Squire," right? You can always
Right.
play that I
Or
didn't
he
know card.
can say he wasn't even there. Only his bannerman
Yeah.
knew.
Right.
Hey guys, I'm gonna probably be getting a Raven to you.
The only thing I guess I don't really understand is why, assuming that he doesn't think the egg's gonna hatch, because I don't think he actually thinks that. Why steal the egg? Why have the?
You
just
steal the
because he
eggs
knew-
just in case.
Because if
Just
he
in
doesn't,
case,
if
and
he doesn't-
also it's like I'm a Targaryen. I have this egg kind of bullshit.
But if he doesn't steal the egg, what happens differently here? Glenn and Ball can't get framed, but Glenn and Ball getting framed was good for the
They could
the
frame him with the
Blackfires.
They could frame him with the actual egg.
Okay.
They didn't know that the egg was stolen. They thought that rock was the egg.
Who do you mean they? Peak didn't.
Peak.
No, Peak knew it was fake. Because
Why would they keep going on with the charade if it was fake?
Peak blamed Glenn and Ball so that the Fiddler wouldn't have any contest. And because we find out that the egg was stolen, the 3 guards that were guarding the room said nobody entered or left. And because I guess Egg heard them talking when he went to confess to Butterwell about being a Targaryen, they told Butterwell that nobody had entered or left the room. And then they died
Okay,
afterwards.
alright, you're
after
right, you're
they
right.
knew the egg was stolen. So
You're
Pete killed them so that he could say Glenn and Ball went and took it from him.
You're right.
But I guess you're right. I guess Pete could have just killed them, taken the real egg, and framed Ball the same way.
Yeah, I mean, if it was still the real egg, they could have still.
It just
framed
seems
somebody
like
with it.
it seems like, especially because this is the line the book ends on, that the dwarfs work for Bloodraven, that it would be an important part in the story, and I don't think that it's huge.
But again, the eggs at this point, when Egg brought up his, oh well, I got an egg. I feel like they're not that. What's the word?
Rare,
No. Fuck.
valuable.
valuable. It's not. They're not that valuable for the
Dude, they're
Targaryens because
well, not for the Targaryens.
everyone has one, so they're like, okay.
Well, no,
like,
Egg's young though. You got to think from his perspective. He's had it his whole life. His brothers have one. He doesn't think it's that crazy to own one.
The
But
Targaryens
there's probably
aren't
only
hurting
like
for money
6
here.
or 7.
Targaryens aren't hurting for money.
Exactly.
Here,
So that's why it's not important to them. But to anybody, like when Dany has one,
she
can buy an army.
Beggar. She's the beggar queen.
I think
who's
Jorah says like one egg could buy you an army. All 3 could buy you an army and a fleet.
yeah,
Right? Like
no.
they're fucking super expensive.
Just because they are at that point, those are the only 3 known eggs left. I'm pretty sure. I don't know
if
what
that's
happened
true. Because Egg right here in this story tells Dunk that there's a ton that's still at Dragonstone.
Well, then where the fuck would they be?
Huh? At Dragonstone. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Unburied? Nobody's. Why wouldn't
maybe what's his
Stannis
name?
have every dragon egg?
Maybe
then? That makes no
Baratheon
sense at all.
destroyed them. Maybe
Yeah,
fucking
maybe.
Robert crushed them all.
Yeah, I mean,
Regardless, it just seems like
I'm gonna go back and watch season 1, episode 1.
it doesn't seem
Right.
super important that that he stole the egg here. Like I don't think anything turns out differently if he steals the egg, and I feel like I'm missing something because of that. And even though I read,
I don't think it. I think you're overthinking it. I don't think it's very important.
Okay.
It's just again, it's a rock. It really is a fossil.
Yeah.
That's worth a lot of money.
Did you see? Yeah, but I don't think I don't think he stole it because he's afraid it's going to hatch. I think he stole it because he knew it would cause a disruption in this tournament. When you steal the grand prize of a tournament that's actively going on, you know?
Yeah. Sure.
The last thing is, I can't wait for more of these books. Did you guys read the little paragraph at
I
the
did.
end?
Yeah.
What,
The
saying
end.
that there's more stories coming?
It says more
The
travels.
end of the beginning.
Yeah, the end of the beginning. From Dorne to the Wall, their journeys will carry them across the length and breadth of the 7 kingdoms, and even beyond the narrow sea to the disputed lands and shining cities of Essos. Give me more Duncan Egg books. I need them.
Finish the Song of Ice and Fire first.
It's not gonna be here for a long time.
Yeah.
Better fucking be. Don't beat his ass.
All right. Well, from here on out, we're into Game of Thrones. We've recorded, I think, 3 or 4 of them already. We have a new guy joining us who has no experience with any of them. Really excited to get into it. I freaking love this book series. I don't even know if I've read another book cover to cover except for any of the Game of Thrones books. Maybe Shiloh about the beagle. I think I had to read
Shiloh? That was a
You were
book?
like 7 years old. Yeah, it's a great
I think
book.
I had to read
I
that
just
book.
knew it was a movie.
All right. Overall thoughts on this book and the series as a whole. Glow.
It's a great series. I mean, they're more of standard writing style, you know, build up, climax, and then finish. Not his normal style in Game of Thrones, but I still like the storylines. The third one definitely packs a lot of punches because there's so much details going through it all. But overall, all 3 stories are very enjoyable. Dunk's a man, Egg is becoming a man, and the Fiddler's gay.
I also like it how none of it really ties in too close. Like there's callbacks, and we've kind of pointed them out along the way. You hear about Aemon, you hear about Bloodraven a little bit, like, but none of it is like really tied to Game of Thrones too closely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of the history is the same, whatever.
Yeah,
But there's nothing that really, besides Walder Frey, nothing really ties together.
exactly. Walder Frey and Aemon are like the only characters who are alive in both. Like, you can read all these without having any Game of Thrones knowledge, show or book. I think it's better if you do, but you can. Jeff, overall thoughts?
So I really enjoyed it just because it's fueling that fire of
Are you talking about just this or?
just the Duncan Egg series
Okay.
fuels the fire of. All right, you watched the whole series, you read all the books. What now? Well, here you go. You get 3 cool stories, which just kind of tags along. You get the same feel, and again, if you think about it, it's just a cool ass time period where, you know, it's all melee weapons. It's not like you're shooting rockets
Pew, pew, pew.
and nukes or even like Star Wars lightsabers and shit. It's a lot of like old school shit mixed with just enough magical, mythological things.
Okay, I was gonna ask this. Game of Thrones fantasy novel, light fantasy, right? There's not like wizards casting spells.
Definitely.
With wands.
I mean,
This one-
Duncan
is
Egg is
this
the
fantasy
lightest.
at all? At all?
Yeah,
They
'cause you
talk
get the
about
whole-
dragon's eggs, but if you have only read this and no Game of Thrones, this is more historical fiction than fantasy.
It's high fantasy because it's in a different world, but
That can be historical fiction, right?
no, different world's high fantasy.
Is it? Okay.
But you also get like this. I mean, I guess it's the same as saying like a witch existed back.
Exactly.
in
This is like a
Salem
medieval times
and
book.
whatnot.
Lord of the Rings is medium fantasy because it's on a world that's kind of like Earth. It's weird.
Well, this is like Earth too.
No,
the-
but it's
The
different.
thing is, this is way less fantasy than Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has literal wizards with staves casting spells. This could have taken like if they just changed the name of White Walls and Ashford to like York and fucking London. This could be fucking medieval times fantasy. I don't know if London was around in medieval times, but you know what I'm saying. Like this could
Yeah,
be.
I
agree
agree with you. I was speaking pedantically,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. I mean, this is definitely a lower fantasy, except for the whole dragon egg and Plum being Bloodraven.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that matters, but I love these books.
Good stuff. I need more Game of Thrones now. I just need more. And I think it's kind of cool. I saw it today is that they were releasing stuff about the new prequel show that's coming
Blood
out.
I saw that too. Yeah.
So
Also,
good stuff.
real quick thoughts. Dave and Dan, there's like a rumors that their Star Wars trilogy is getting canceled.
I mean, they should just cancel their directing and writing careers at this point.
There's a subreddit called Free Folk online, which is on Reddit, which is just like people who are diehard book fans and hate anything about the show, mostly anything about the show because it's not 100% true to the books. They are like the ones who are most up in arms against season 8 and Dave and Dan. They're the ones who created the petition to get it rewritten. They're like super fired up about going to Comic-Con so they can just boo the shit out of Dave and Dan when they go up on the panel. And they're all just like that subreddit has just been like constant posting memes of like just smiling like evil faces like me when I read that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is getting canceled.
Star Wars show.
Yeah, Star Wars. Because basically Dave and Dan's excuse
I mean, they can't
was
cancel it. They're gonna do it.
their excuse was that they stopped working on Game of Thrones so they could focus on that. So these people are
Yeah.
just like, oh, I hope that the project that they fucked Game of Thrones up for gets canceled. So it was all for nothing.
And again, I don't know who has a more intense following.
Star
Wars,
Wars.
Game of Thrones.
I think Star Wars
It's
does.
got to be Star Wars because you got all the old heads still.
Yeah, there's
I mean,
old
you
heads.
got like grandpas out there that remember going to the premiere of Star Wars Episode 4.
Yeah.
So
And back in the day, like it wasn't like it came out in movie theaters and then it was on video 3 months later. It was like movies you have to wait 2 years to get it. So like people went to see Star Wars in the theaters like 10 times.
multiple times.
yeah.
That shit doesn't happen that much anymore. All right, but we're getting off topic. Let's wrap it up there. I love these books. Thanks to anybody who read along and listened. I'm sure you probably enjoyed it just as much as we did. I'm really excited to get into Game of Thrones. We've already recorded some of them. A little slow start for Game of Thrones. Kyle's getting used to the podcast life, but we're basically experts at this time. So I think it's gonna be a fun ride,
NBD.
especially once we start getting into stuff that Kyle is completely
Unaware
ignorant about.
Ignorant. He's ignorant.
He's ignorant.
All right, well, this is
All right,
maybe our
signing off.
longest episode ever, so we'll sign off. Holy shit, an hour and a half. I hope I can cut this down, but I say that
Yeah.
every time and never can.
It's gonna be like an hour 20. This was all good, pretty good conversation.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll let ourselves go so we can go to bed. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
The night is dark and full of terrors. Bye bye.